I've had apologies from Christine. And
Chair,
yeah.
Didn't say that, but I my camera off.
If you turn the camera off, because your sound's breaking up, Emrys. Okay. Right, I've had apologies from Christine, and I know that Melvin has to leave us at 10:30. I've had no other apologies at the moment, but Pat or might join us. She might be having a problem getting on. So we go first of all to the appointment of the vice chair. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to Emrys for being the vice chair for the last few years, which has been a great support to me, and always amiable, always happy to have stepped in when I was poorly. So I want to thank him for that. But I also want to put Emrys forward for the position of vice chair. Have I a seconder?
I'll second that if need be.
Too many.
Yeah.
Nearly everybody. So we'll start with David then as a seconder for Emrys, yeah?
Yep, that's fine.
Is there any other nominations? No, I take that as no. So Emrys, you are duly elected as my vice chair, and I hope to work well with you for this coming year.
Thank you. It's my privilege, and thank you, committee, for the nomination and the support. And I hope I won't have to sit in your seat too much over the final year of this term, but if I need to, you know where to call, and then we'll have our meetings in any case.
I will do. For the records, can I have a full show of hands, please? Thank you. Have we any declarations of interest? No, and I have no urgent matters. So we'll
Chair, could I, I'm sorry to interrupt you there. In the last meeting of this group, we did raise the matter of when we were going to begin again, because we all found them very, very useful. Have we any news about the beginning of our pre-meetings?
Okay, I can explain that. Okay, yeah, Rian.
Yeah, just on that point, we'll come to that actually under the work programme report. There is a couple of paragraphs in there about pre-meetings and how we can go about holding them again, because we did have a discussion at the scrutiny chairs and vice chairs group about it at the end of April. So if it's okay with you, we can go into more detail about that under that report.
Okay, thank you, Rian. The reason I raised this now is that our pre-meetings are very useful because we can arrange between ourselves to share out the questions. And I go to so many meetings these days where people ask the same question that's just been asked by somebody else the few moments before. And I'd like you to promise me, Chair, that if I ask a question that's already been asked, that you will tell me to shut up. Thank you, Chair.
Reese, I'd never do that. I would never shut you up. I haven't for the last 3 years, and I'm not going to start now, Liv.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So shall we go to the minutes then of the 15th of April? And for accuracy first, we'll go for page 7, page 8, page 9, and page 10. I have no matters arising. Has anybody else? I think they're a good reflection of the minutes, and I thank the minute taker. Thank you very much. Can I have a show of hands? Propose and a seconder. Thank you, Hugh Irving. Thank you, Reese. Now a show of hands. Thank you. We'll now go to agenda item 6. And I believe our leader, Hugh Evans, is going to start us off. And can I ask you to also introduce the officers that are involved? Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Jeanette, and morning, everybody. Yes, I will introduce who's involved in this presentation today. And this is an update, of course, about the growth deal, which was agreed in full council in last year in 2020 and signed by all 6 local authorities in December 2020. So we are now in the delivery phase. Part of that agreement, the GA2, is highlighted in 4.1, 4.2 and 4.3 of the report. So as part of that agreement, we are obliged to come to scrutiny to give you an update twice a year. And this is the submission of Q4 and an update on the annual report. Joining me today will be Anwen Williams, the Portfolio Director, which you have all met before, and Hayth Vaughan Evans, the Operations Manager, who many of you will know from his previous experience in Denbighshire, which I hope was a good one, Hayth. And I'm not sure if Nia's joining us as well as the Senior Operations Officer. She usually does join us, just to keep an eye on everything that's going on. Also joining us today, Chair, will be our own officers who are working on different programmes on the growth deal, and that will be Barry Eden, who's working on the digital element, Helen Vaughan Evans on energy, Graham Bowes, who's there already anyway with land and property, James Evans on innovation, high value and manufacturing, and Emlyn Jones on agri-tourism. And it's really important that they attend today because we do meet on a quarterly basis as they can sort of work with the portfolio management team to influence or to understand what's going on a regional basis and to give us a heads up of what the impact is that likely to be on Denbighshire. So it's really important and they have engaged well with the team in order to look after Denbishire's interest. As board member, I am pleased to put this report before you today. I was fortunate last week to hear the presentation on the Moralised project, which was the first one. And I was quite amazed, really, very surprised at the level of detail that these projects have to go into before they become clear business cases for consideration. So there's an awful lot of work that goes behind the scenes on this, and rightly so, probably because there is a big element of public funds in this, but also, apart from being scrutinised by the 6 authorities in North Wales, we are also scrutinised by Welsh Government and Westminster. So the portfolio team are scrutinised from all angles on this one. So I'm really comfortable that the approach that they are doing is very professional and high level. And I do hope that you as scrutiny members today will feel assured of the work that they are doing so far, as we are now, as I said, in delivery phase. So that's it quickly for me, Chair. I'll hand you over now to Anwen, who's going to lead us on the portfolio and the quarterly updates.
Diolch Arweinydd. Thank you, Leader. And bore da pawb. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can see me okay and hear me okay. I'm going to lead through a short presentation, just as a refresher, really, of our key programs and projects. Then I will hand over to Hayth, and Hayth's going to take you through the headlines in the quarterly and in the annual report contained within your pack. You bear with me a second. I'm just going to try and share my screen. And when I share my screen, I can't see you anymore. So hopefully you can see that. If someone can shout if you can't see it, and I'll try again. Otherwise, I'll start. The aim of the growth deal, as we know, is to sort of build a more vibrant, a more sustainable and a more resilient economy in North Wales, and building on the strengths that we already have in the region to boost productivity, but also tackling some of the long-term challenges and those economic barriers that perhaps have prevented us from delivering inclusive economic growth for our region in the past. The approach that we're taking is to promote growth in a way that's scalable, that enables us to be sustainable, and in a way that aligns really well with the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. In our business cases at the portfolio level, we'd identified 3 key spending objectives. You can see these spending objectives outlined on the screen now. The first one being job creation. And when we say jobs, we mean new jobs into the economy. So not just a shift of jobs from one area into another area, but actually net new jobs into the economy. And also high value jobs. So those jobs that earn the salaries that perhaps would have driven young people away from North Wales in the past. We want to create the opportunities that will keep that talent in our local economy. And we want to create up to 4,200 new jobs. GVA is the second of our spending objectives, and we want to increase the GVA of the economy, so the value of the economy, of between 2 and 2.4 billion by 2036, which is the term or the lifetime of the growth deal. And then finally, investment. So with 240 million coming in as an investment through both governments and with our Economic Ambition Board also investing, but also with additional investment from the private sector and other funding from the public sector. It is an investment of up to £1 billion in the local economy here. The growth deal itself is based on delivery of 14 transformational projects, and these projects sit across 5 programmes. The programmes have been defined as either high growth programmes or enabling programmes. And if the 5 programmes are shown on the screen, apologies, they're in Welsh only for some reason, but in yellow we've got low carbon energy, in purple we've got innovation in high value manufacturing, in orange we've got agri-food and tourism, in green land and property, and then digital in pink, I think. I'll start with the 2 programmes that are focused on enabling the region. So digital connectivity and land and property. These 2 programmes are funded by the growth deal. There are also, just to mention, there are 2 other programmes that are enabling programmes. I'm not going to cover them today because they're not funded by the growth deal, but these 2 programmes are skills and employment and strategic transport. We've identified enabling sectors through the growth deal. We've also identified enabling sectors through the growth deal. Sorry, the sectors that are enabling are there to tackle economic barriers and address structural issues that have impacted on productivity and jobs. Delivery in these sectors will create the appropriate conditions for businesses to be able to invest in the region and for the labour market to be able to take advantage of the new employment opportunities. A strategic approach will be taken with our investments, ensuring that they're well targeted in order to enable economic and employment growth across the region. And it's all being done in partnership. I think it's really important to mention the partnership here. North Wales is very often cited as sort of best practice for being cohesive and being able to sort of mobilise very quickly to work together. And that partnership between both governments under the growth deal brings us closer together in that respect. So first of all, on digital, the programme is truly regional. It reaches everywhere, and it aims to invest in improving that digital connectivity, which I think we can all see has become an absolute lifeline over the last 12 months because of the restrictions through COVID. The region and North Wales needs to be able to meet the needs of our customers and of our citizens. This programme addresses areas that have been difficult for the commercial sector to invest in, and it will help to unlock the growth potential for key priority sectors and also importantly key sites in North Wales. This investment also enables innovation to happen. It's an enabler for other programmes across the portfolio and enables businesses across all sectors to flourish. The digital programme has identified a need to balance investment and infrastructure and technology through both fixed broadband at key sites and in rural areas, unlocking also new applications through 5G technology and furthering and advancing digital innovation. There are two main components in the digital programme, and these two components are the digital connectivity project and also a project with Bangor University, which is more around innovation, called the Digital Signal Processing Centre, or DSP. So I'll just go through really quickly what the projects are. We've got a full fibre project. This full fibre project will deliver full fibre connectivity, which is gigabit capable. That's fibre all the way from the exchange to the premise at 28 key business sites across North Wales. And some 4,100 businesses and premises and around 450 residential premises will be able to access gigabit capable full fibre broadband once the project is completed. We've got a connected campus project, and by campuses I mean key sites of economic activity, and this project will accelerate the development of infrastructure for 19 key regional economic sites, and it's estimated that around 2,600 business premises will have access to high bandwidth 5G and low power Wi-Fi services, so therefore better connectivity. Connected corridor, this responds to industry demands and technology drivers by supporting more efficient operation of supply chains, major transport operations such as ports, and in total around 156 kilometres of road and rail corridor will be connected to 5G and other access networks along the A55 corridor and adjacent mainline rail route. There's the connecting the final few percent, and this project really is about targeting universal superfast coverage across North Wales. So really getting into those areas that perhaps have not received the commercial investment in the infrastructure build programme to date. And we aim to create a really equal level playing field in that respect, giving it access to at least 30 megabits of download speeds. The other programme, project which I mentioned within digital, is around innovation. It's in partnership with Bangor University, and it's called an investment in digital signal processing. And it brings together academia to work alongside international companies, really, and also the Welsh SME sector, enabling them to work together to explore what we would call disruptive solutions for 5G. So really innovating on how we can get the best applications for 5G connectivity and really squeeze the benefit out of that connectivity, and using the DSP as almost a test bed for this research and innovation. Moving on to the next project, which we'll look at, which is the Land and Property Programme. In land and property, we've got several key projects. I'll start with the, firstly to explain, the Land and Property Programme addresses a shortage of suitable land and suitable properties for businesses to grow, and also brings forward some key sites for housing development and deliver improvements that will stimulate the investment in the Port of Holyhead and the wider region as a result. These projects play a huge enabling role for the other programmes in the growth deal, ensuring that we've got serviced sites available for investors and for developers. Firstly, just to touch on the Holyhead Gateway project, this is in partnership with Stena Line, and it's to future-proof the Holyhead port by providing a new deep water heavy loading cruise facilities, improved vehicle access, and guaranteeing the future of the breakwater there at Holyhead. Then we've got a project around regional land and property, and we've got several that fall into the regional land and property project, which is first one being Wrexham Gateway, the growth deal of funding, providing the funding necessary for statutory consents and to deliver primary services, so that Wrexham Gateway site can be brought to the market for sale and development. A site at Warren Hall in Flintshire, which will receive growth deal funding necessary for the statutory consents, and again delivering primary services. The site is 65 hectares and it's a mixed use site. We've then got the Bodel-Withen Key Strategic site, which is within Denbighshire. This is a mixed use commercial and residential development of around 137 hectares. And again, growth deal funding provides the primary services to enable this site to be brought to the market for development. And we've got the Denbigh Hospital site. A planning application has been submitted, and this brings forward the commercial case for mixed commercial and residential development. Again, the growth deal funding assists in the delivery of a cleared and remediated site with primary services. And then finally, Bryn Cecyn, which is a strategic site in Bangor, and this will provide industrial floor space to meet the known demand for commercial units. Moving on to look at the final three programmes, and these focus really on our key strengths in the region in high value sectors. The programmes are aimed at increasing the value and impact of these high growth sectors. The first one being low carbon energy, and the aim of this programme is to unlock economic benefits of transformational low carbon energy projects, position North Wales really as a leading UK location for low carbon energy generation, also innovation and supply chain investment. I'll run through the projects in the low carbon energy programme. First of all, we've got Model ICE, which is a marine energy project with Menter Môn, investing in infrastructure that connects the Model ICE zone with the electricity grid, and preparing the site for private sector developers who then lease parts of the zone for deploying various different tidal energy solutions, some of them anchored to the seabed, some of them sitting mid-flow between the seabed and the surface, and others floating on the surface. Those technologies will utilise Model ICE as a test bed in designated zones or berths within the designated area. We've then got Trawsfynydd Power Station. The Trawsfynydd site is uniquely placed for a first-of-a-kind deployment of small modular reactors, or SMRs, or also advanced modular reactors, AMRs, due to its status and the fact that it's a publicly owned asset. And we've got highly skilled workforce in the area, as well as a supportive community. Alongside the public and the private sector, the growth deal will contribute funding towards the enabling infrastructure for the development to go ahead. We've then got a low carbon energy centre of excellence with Bangor University. This is an investment in the development of facilities at Bangor University and also at Menai Science Park, MSpark, to enhance the North Wales and UK capability for innovation in low carbon energy and in related areas. So helping really to create the conditions for new inward investment to come in and businesses to grow in the low carbon energy supply chain across North Wales. Then we've got Smart Local Energy. This is a project that's really starting to see scope now. It will really help to achieve renewable energy, decarbonisation and local ownership targets. And the project supports innovation and enabling projects really that and demonstrators that overcome some of the market failures and provide the ability to unlock private and community sector investment in smart local energy solutions. And then finally, we've got transport decarbonisation. So this is a project that's been delivered by us, the North Wales Economic Ambition Board, through the growth deal to support delivery of a demonstrator project involving the production of green hydrogen from low carbon energy sources, and then applying that green hydrogen within the regional transport networks to driving towards a low carbon economy. Moving on, we've got innovation in high value manufacturing. And this programme looks to consolidate North Wales's position already as a really powerful and innovative high value manufacturing cluster. So it builds on our existing specialisms and it will lead to expertise to create higher value, more diverse economic base that supports a transition to a more low carbon economy in manufacturing. So we've got two key projects in this programme. Both of them are with academic partners. The first one is the Centre for Environmental Biotechnology with Bangor University. The Centre for Engineering Biotechnology is a world-leading centre in the discovery and characterisation of novel extremophilic enzymes. I'm not a scientist, but the ability to characterize these enzymes and see how they can be of relevance in industry, that is exactly what the centre is doing. So looking at attracting global world-leading researchers into the centre, attracting significant public and commercial research funding and inward investment into the region, already building on the capability that they have at Bangor University. And then we've got the Enterprise Engineering and Optics Centre. This is a project with Glyndŵr University, and it will provide facilities in Wrexham and in St Asaph, targeted to boost high-level skills development for the region and enable small and medium enterprises and large businesses to work in partnership hand in hand with Wrexham Glyndŵr University on commercially driven research and development that really focuses on our strengths in optics, in hydrogen, in composites. So will seriously help on decarbonising our economy as well. And then finally, the Agri-Food and Tourism Programme. To build this will help again to build on sustainability, optimising opportunities for employment and prosperity through our environment and our landscapes. So we've got three key projects within this programme. The first one being Tourism Talent Network with Grŵp Llanrillo Menai. This is all about future-proofing a pipeline of skills provision increasing commercial benefits from what is one of our most established sectors in the region, that visitor sector, that sort of tourism and hospitality and visitor sector. We are, of course, under huge pressure currently from COVID in this sector. So we're constantly monitoring and evaluating how we move forward with this project to ensure that we can create opportunities for high skills that can meet the demand within the sector for those high skills, and start to demonstrate that a career in the sector can be high value and rewarding. We're also working with Grŵp Llandrillo Menai on a project with BLYNYDDOL to create the BLYNYDDOL Rural Economy Hub. And the vision here is to create a distinctive world-class rural economy hub at BLYNYDDOL site in Carnarvon, offering a range of facilities and services to strengthen and to enhance the regional economy, and specifically through growing the food and drink sector. And then finally, we've got an investment planned with CYFARFOD and Coleg Cambria as the partner there to deliver a carbon neutral farm. And this aims to lead North Wales to a more resilient future where carbon neutral land management is in the question. The centre itself at CYFARFOD will be at the centre of developing sort of renewable sector innovation, supporting sustainable and thriving healthy community, and covering the rural and urban mix of the region. So that was a very quick canter through all of our projects. I would like to hand over to Head now, who can take you through a high-level summary of the quarterly and the annual report, which is contained within your reading pack for today. Thank you very much for listening, and over to you, Head.
Diolch yn fawr, Alwen. If we can move on to the next slide, and just one more forward. So starting with the quarterly performance report. So this is our first quarterly report on the growth deal, and provides an overview of the progress on the growth deal since it was agreed by all the partners last year, and that we signed the final deal in December. The focus primarily during this period, so January to March this year, has been moving on to the delivery phase. And it's really important to note at this point that all of our projects within the North Wales Growth Deal are still in what we call the business case development phase. So they're working on their business cases. They've not been approved, and they're not delivering yet. So the focus was moving into this phase. And we started in January with a review of all the projects to reconfirm timetables and to enable us to move on to start as the leader has set out earlier in the meeting today, the quite intensive and robust project development, assurance and approval process that each one of our projects have to go through to make sure that we meet the requirements of both governments as set out in the final deal agreement. And this primarily involves developing business cases to the Better Business Case guidance, which is the 5-case model and the Green Book. So a big part of this is that business cases are not developed in isolation. They're developed through a number of specific workshops that are aligned to the relevant cases and provide an opportunity to involve a large number of stakeholders and to test assumptions that have been made, to agree options and delivery models. And that was a major focus of this quarter for our projects. Another part of our assurance process is that every project within the growth deal has to go through a gateway review. So this is a recognised HM Treasury process, which is an independent evaluation of projects ahead of key decision points. And they're arranged through the Welsh Government, but are carried out by an independent panel that assess the readiness of the project to move forward. And during this quarter, we had our first 2 projects go through that process. So the Morlais project, which as the leader mentioned, actually went to the board as an outline business case last Friday and was endorsed to move on to the next stage. During March, they completed their Gateway 2 review. And we also had the Enterprise Engineering and Optics Centre project by Wrexham Glyndŵr University complete their first Gateway 1 review. If we move on to the next slide, Alwen. In terms of the projects, which you can see set out by each programme in the report, we have 2 projects that are currently reporting as red. And these are the key strategic site in Bodwyddan, and that's primarily due to the outline planning permission having been expired. So there are questions about what the scope of that project will be moving forward, and we're working closely with colleagues at Denbighshire County Council to understand what that new planning policy picture might look like for the site. And the Holyhead Gateway project, which is quite a large project, and costs are escalating in that project, particularly around the breakwater work that's required, which may require a review of the scope of the project. So those 2 projects, because of the risks around scope, are reporting as red. We have a number of projects which are currently reporting as amber, and this is primarily due to the business case development time frame taking longer than originally estimated due to the intensive process that we have to go through. So each of the projects does go through both a gateway review and a review at the programme board, the portfolio board, before being moved on for consideration by the board itself, which is adding on to the original estimated time schedules. But there are no significant concerns around those projects. It's just taking a little bit longer than anticipated to go through the process. And finally, our most significant achievement during Q4 was that we received the grant award letter from Welsh Government and submitted the required documentation and received the first instalment of 16 million from the government. So the 16 million funding comes annually. It's on the basis of a grant award letter and us demonstrating that we've met all the conditions required. So a significant milestone for us to get that first tranche of funding in before the end of the last financial year, which means we are able to get another one this year, subject to completing the required information, which puts us financially in a really positive position moving forward to invest in projects over this financial year that we're in. If we can move forward, Alwen, I'll just quickly run through some of the highlights from the annual report. So the annual report looks back on all the progress that we've made over the last financial year, primarily focused on the growth deal, but does include some of the other activities supported by the Portfolio Management Office. And it recognises in particular how challenging 2020-21 was as a year for everyone, with COVID changing our lives and the way that we work. Specifically for us as a team, we were a new team that formed in January 2020, and we only spent 2.5 months together in the office before transitioning to a virtual team. And despite those challenges and the additional work caused by COVID and supporting the regional recovery efforts, we were able to secure the final deal agreement on the 17th of January 2020, so within the original timescales that were set, which was quite an achievement. And that final deal, of course, is the contract with government, which sets out what we intend to deliver and how we will report and manage that. A few other highlights from the year: we were very successful early on in the year in securing 2.9 million in ESF revenue funding to support the staff within the Portfolio Management Office, and a large proportion of the year has been spent recruiting and developing the team to the point where now we only have 2 vacant positions and are in quite the unusual situation of 3/4 of the team having never actually met in person. But I think we've developed quite a good way of working virtually, but we're all looking forward to getting back to the office at some point. As I mentioned in the quarterly report, we've done a lot on gateway reviews in addition to the 2 project reviews that we spoke of. The portfolio had to go through a gateway review in August last year ahead of the final deal agreement, which was a challenging but positive process for us to go through, and demonstrated to the governments that we had put in place the necessary arrangements and governance structures to enable us to deliver the deal. We've spent a lot of time training members of the team in the better business case methodology to make sure that we're able to develop our business cases to the standards required by government, and we're also able to review those produced by our partners internally within the team. And finally, a large proportion of the year has been spent working very closely with the 6 local authorities across North Wales, UK and Welsh Government to coordinate the regional response to economic recovery. Thank you. That's a very quick run through of the 2 performance reports in the pack, and happy to take any questions. Diolch yn fawr.
Well, thank you to Alwyn and Had for that. Very interesting report. I'll start off with the questions. I have got Emrys and Merritt waiting to ask a question, but can I just ask you, you've had the first 16 million and you've almost secured all the admin staffing, minus 2 posts. Can I ask how much all of that is going to cost, please? Anybody?
I'm not sure I completely understand the question, Chair. So if I perhaps clarify the difference in the funding that I was referring to. So the 16 million that we've received from government is the first tranche of the growth deal capital funding. So it is the funding for the projects. It's the first instalment of the 240 million, which will be paid on an annual basis over the next 15 years. So that's the capital funding for the projects. The 2.9 million in ESF funding that we've secured is the revenue funding for the portfolio management office over a 3-year period. So that is matched by contributions from the partners themselves. So the total revenue funding is just under 6 million for that first 3-year period. Does that answer your question, Chair?
No, mine was much more simple than that. It was just, how much is it all going to cost in administration and staffing costs total?
So the total for the first 3 years is just under 6 million. We don't have a revenue profile beyond that at this stage.
So 6 million is going to be taken out of the 214 total million in administration and staffing costs.
No, Chair, the 6 million is funded separately by the European funding grant that we've received and by the partner contributions.
Okay, thank you. Emrys, I know you're having technical difficulties, Emrys, but are you able to ask your question?
I'm in at the moment. I hope it don't disappear. I've lost connection 3 times. I think it's problems my end though, to be fair. Yeah, diolch yn fawr am y cyflwyniadau. Mae gen I 3 cwestiwn mewn gwirionedd ac dwi'n meddwl falle bod Hedd wedi delio ac un o'n nhw, ond mi na I ofyn o'r fath gan bod nhw lawr gen I yma. Ynghylch sefyllfa amber a coch, dwi'n edrych ar yr adroddiad cyntaf, yr appendix cyntaf. Dyn ni yn paragraff 4.9, lle mae yna gyfeiriad at y ddau brosiect yn adrodd yn goch ar hyn o bryd oherwydd risgiau a lle-effeithiau o gwmpas brosiect. Mae hwnna'n gynsyr, mae Hedd wedi egluro hwnnw ac hefyd wedi egluro'r Amber. Ond os ei gysylltu hwnnw gydag paragraff 4.7 lle mae yna gyfeiriad at y prosiectau a mae'n swnio, wrth ddarllen hwnnw llinellau ydw i, ond mae'n swnio fel bod y prosiect Morlais gyda chynllun busnes sydd yn addawol iawn ac bod o'n mynd i ddatblygu yn gobeithio yn llwyddiannus a dwi'n gobeithio fydd yr un fath gyda prosiect Prifysgol Glyndŵr. Ond mae'n ymddangos i mi falle bod Prifysgol Glyndŵr wedi gorfod mynd yn ôl at i'w cynllun busnes i ail-edrych ar hwnnw yn fwy trylwyr. Fedrwch chi egluro yr argraff hwnna dwi'n gael os gwelwch yn dda. Dwi'n meddwl mae Alwen oedd yn cyfeirio at hynny. Dyna'r cyntaf, yr ail digital connectivity, cyswllt digidol. Mae yna bwyslais mawr ar hyn wedi cael yn yr adroddiad, a 5G yn cael ei ymlaen, ond gobeithio gai o'r ythyr y ddigon buan i Erw Goch yn arbennig tawaith am hynny. Tudalen 28, maen nhw'n chi'n sôn am ffibr llawn mewn safleoedd allweddol a campus cysylltiedig. Ond mae'r ddau wedi'w hatal. Dwi'n yn gallu gweld hyn yn cyd-fynd ar hyn. Yn o'r adroddiad dwi wedi weld, mae'n dweud wedi'w hatal yr adroddiad ac diolch yn cyd-fynd ar hyn glywes i yn y cyflwyniad fel bod bob dim yn gyrru rhagddo yn dda. A trydydd cwestiwn ynghylch trawsfynydd, ynni small modular reactors a'r opsiwn o advanced modular reactors. Advanced, di'n golygu mwy, neu di'n golygu mwy clyfar?
Diolch yn fawr. So I gymryd y cwestiwn cynta, Emrys. So o safbwynt prosiect Morlais a Glyndŵr, mi oedden nhw'n mynd drwy y gateway reviews ar adegau gwahanol yn y prosiectau. So roedd Morlais yn mynd drwy beth sy'n cael ei alw'n gateway 2, sydd ar yr outline business case. So mae'n barod am benderfyniad gan y bwrdd ar ôl hynny. Oedd prosiect Glyndŵr yn mynd ar gyfer gateway 1, so yn gynharach yn y proses yn edrych ar ydy'r cais strategol yn ei le ar gyfer y prosiect. Ac oherwydd hynny, mae nhw wan yn datblygu yr outline business case, yr OBC i'r prosiect. So does na ddim byd i newid yn y siwrne i'r prosiect, ond gan bod y prosiect yn llai aeddfed na Morlais, mi oedd y gateway 1 yn galluogi nhw i gael pobl annibynnol i edrych ar y prosiect a rhoi mewnbwn i alluogi nhw i weithio ar yr OBC. So does na ddim pryder yn fanau, jyst dau gais busnes ar pwynt gwahanol yn y siwrne.
Felly, ydych chi'n hapus gyda'r ddau brosiect?
Ynden.
Fel ma'n lle ma'n diolch yn fawr.
Os na i gymryd y cwestiwn hefyd ar y rhaglen digidol, mae yna 4 prosiect is-adeiledd sy'n cael ei redeg gan y swyddfa portffolio yn y rhaglen, a mae yna 2 o'n nhw wedi dileu ar hyn o bryd oherwydd just capacity yn y swyddfa. So, dyn ni wedi blaenoriaethu 2 allan o'r 4 prosiect i symud ymlaen wan, a mae heina yn symud ymlaen ar amserlen dyn ni'n disgwyl, a mi fydd y 2 arall yn cael ei bigo fyny ar ddiwedd y flwyddyn. So does na ddim problem hefo'r prosiectau, dyn ni jyst wedi proffilio y 4 mwyn gallu rheoli capacity y tîm i symud nhw gyd ymlaen.
Diolch am hynny. Trafferth o'n i'n gael oedd cysoni wedi atal gyda'r gwedd bositif iawn sy'n dod allan yr adroddiad.
Pwynt da, ydau ddall hynny. Mae oherwydd bod ni wedi wneud y penderfyniad yna yn go gyflym yn y broses. Bod nhw wedi dileu, maen nhw dal yn rhedeg ar yr amserlen dyn ni'n disgwyl o'r prosiectau, achos doedden ni ddim yn disgwyl i'r 4 fod nhw'n rhedeg wan ar yr un pryd. A dwi ddim yn arbenigwr, ond na i rhoi na i drio roid ateb ar yr small ag advanced modular reactors. So advanced o ran y technoleg, dim maint y llefydd. Dyn ni ddim yn sôn am mwy, dyn ni'n sôn am mwy clyfar.
I'm going to have to move on because I've got quite a few speakers. Sorry to interrupt your head, but I must move on. I'm known for going over time and I don't intend to today because the leader's here. Rhys?
Diolch yn fawr, Joan. Mae gen i ddau gwestiwn, os gwelwch yn dda. Wel, pwynt ydy'r cyntaf, gai dynnu'ch sylw chi at atodiad 1, Appendix 1 yn yn dogfen ni, ag tudalen 5. Full fibre at key sites ac nawr, gallwch chi ddweud mai edrych i gael gweld beth sy'n wyrdd ac yn mynd yn iawn, beth sydd yn oren ac mae yna chydig o bryder a beth sy'n goch, mae yna broblem. Ac pan dwi'n edrych ar hyn rwan, dych chi wedi gofyn i ni roed sylwadau ac i roed feedback i chi. Dwi ddim yn siŵr a ddyle prosiect sydd ddim wedi cael ei gychwyn eto fod yn cael ei dangos yn wyrdd, achos mae o'n neud i ni feddwl bod y prosiect yna'n mynd yn ei flaen, achos be mae'n dweud ydy delivering to plan with no issues. Ac efallai'r plan ydy bod o ddim eto wedi cychwyn, ond efallai dyle fo ddim fod yn dangos bod pob dim yn iawn, achos mae o'r un lliw â prosiectau sydd wedi cychwyn ac sydd yn mynd yn iawn. Ac i mi, mae o'n drysu rhywun syml fel fi, tan dwi yn edrych ar mwy o fanylion yn bellach lawr. Felly, o'n i dipyn bach yn anhapus bod rhywbeth oedd ddim wedi gychwyn yn cael ei ddangos bod na ddim problem. Falle dyle fod na ryw ffordd o ddweud di hwn ddim wedi cychwyn eto. Dyna oedd y sylw, mae'n ddrwg gen i. Falle mod i'n hollti blew.
Swn i'n licio cynnig ymateb, mae hyn yn rhywbeth da ni wedi drafod fel swyddfa portffolio. Da ni wedi creu yr adroddiad fel mae o ar hyn o bryd yn erbyn y llinell amser. Fel da ni'n symud yn y blaenau, dwi'n meddwl, falle bydd rhaid i ni edrych ar ffordd o roi lliw rhag status ar gyfer prosiectau yn ôl y llinell amser, ond hefyd yn ôl y delivery timescales o fewn yr rhaglen. Felly, mae'n debygol yn y dyfodol, falle fydd na ddau set o rag, ond mi fedrwn ni edrych yn wneud ar adroddiad yn gliriach o ran hynny. A dwi'n cydnabod beth ydych chi'n dweud.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr Alwen. Y cwestiwn arall i rywun fel fi, ag mae yna ddau ohono ni ar y Pwyllgor Craffu, sydd yn clwm gyda, dwedwch, yr LDP o fewn Sir Ddinbych a cynllunio strategol. Nawr, Baswn i'n hoffi chi esbonio sut ydych chi'n gweld rhai o'r cynlluniau megis yr sector tir ag hai. Sut mae hwnnw yn cael glwyd gyda beth mae sir fel Sir Ddinbych yn gwneud pan maen nhw'n paratoi, dwedwch chi, LDP. Os gai jyst rhoi enghraifft i chi, dwedwch bod yr Pwyllgor yr LDP yn cael data bod angen hyn a hyn o ddatblygu tai mewn tre fel Rhuthun neu Dinbych, ac dyn ni'n gwybod beth yw'r anghenion yno, ac yna mae'r cynllun yma yn dod â cynllun fel Bodel Wyddon neu Ysbyty Gogledd Cymru yn Ninbych. Mae hwnnw'n dod mewn i'r mix, a mae'r hynny'n brosiectau mawr, ac mi fydd yr aelodau sydd ar y Pwyllgor LDP, mi fyddan nhw wedyn yn cael ein anodd wedyn i weld, wel, dyma'r angen lleol, ond dyma'r hyn sydd yn dod o ddichod mewn ffordd, ac ar ben hynny wedyn, mae gen i Cymru'r Dyfodol 2040 sydd yn clusnodi yr gogledd ddwyrain ar gyfer rhai mathau o ddatblygu. Ydych chi yn gweld hyn yn broblem, neu oes genoch chi fodd i ddatrys hyn? Jyst o ran diddordeb yr aelodau hynny sydd yn clwm yn hyn yn Sir Ddinfych. Gobeithio bod hwnna'n gwestiwn digon clir. Mae yna wahanol lefelau o gynllunio fan hyn. Oes na fodd dych chi yn gweithredu i glymu nhw at ei gilydd? Diolch yn fawr.
Dwi'n meddwl nes i ddeall y cwestiwn yma, ond mi nath o dorri fyny chydig bach. Dwi'n meddwl mae yna bwynt pwysig i wneud o ran sut da ni'n gweithio yn rhanbarthol a bod gennym ni gyswllt agos iawn hefo yr awdurdoda lleol i gyd drwy swyddogion cyswllt megis Graham yn yr achos yma. Swn i'n hoffi gwahodd Graham i ddod i fewn i helpu hefo'r ateb yma, cos o marn ni, mae gennym ni berthynas gry yn rhanbarthol hefo pob awdurdod sydd wedyn hefo'i swyddogion cyswllt yn gwneud yn siŵr bod y cwestiynau yna yn cael ei gofyn a bod na ymateb yn rhanbarthol drwy'r prosiectau da ni'n cefnogi yn yr cynllun twf yn cyd-fynd hefo'r ymateb mwy neu'r disgwyliadau mwy lleol lle. Graham, perhaps I could invite you in also on this answer.
I've missed a little bit of the.
Sorry, you're breaking up as well.
Yeah, I'll turn my camera off. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? I'm going to address myself to Alwen first because I missed that last bit. Do you want me to come in now, Alwen? Is that the idea?
Yes, please, Graham.
Yeah, good. Okay. We could spend a long time answering that question, I guess, Reece. It's a good question. The chair will have to pull. We haven't got long. How long have I got, Chair?
Give you 3 seconds.
That gets me out. That gets me out of having to answer the question. That's not fair on Reece. I'll let me answer it this way, Reece. I think there are 2 issues here. One is the architecture of planning, if you like, how it's being worked nationally. So we know that Welsh Government have introduced their kind of national plan, and we know that that local authorities have their LDPs, and now, of course, there's a requirement in legislation for regions to produce a regional plan. Now, we haven't started the regional plan yet, so in the future, it'll be quite straightforward, I guess. There'll be a national plan, and then the regional plan should take its lead from the national plan, and then the local LDPs will need to take their lead from the regional plan. But we seem to be some way off that, so we haven't even started the regional plan. So at the moment, and for the foreseeable future, it will be difficult, and it'll be a little bit of a muddle. Dare I use that word, muddle? I think it will be complex around how those things all start to emerge, because they're all at different stages. So it's not going to be easy, but let's answer it. I said there was 2 parts. The other thing is where in that short term, the power in planning rests with the local authority, because only the local authority can develop the LDP. So you have the control there. So in terms of that local need example that you've given, you're absolutely right. We as a council need to balance up what the local need is against any growth that we might want to introduce. And in the end, it'll be us as the local authority that allocate sites in the LDP. Now, the region isn't enforcing that situation upon us. So the base beta, if you like, comes from the housing need, which comes from Welsh Government. So we can have it, we can't go below the housing need. We can meet the housing need, but we do have an option to go above the housing need if we wanted a kind of growth approach. And that's where I think your bottle within comes in. And that's why I think Heather said in his introduction, in his discussion there, that Bodelwyddan's a difficult project now for the region, because it doesn't want to deliver a project that Denbighshire doesn't support. And the current Bodelwyddan project is in question because the outline planning permission has lapsed. And what we know is that that level of demand is not currently there. So we doubt that we would produce a plan that replicates the existing position at the LDP. So it's a difficult position for the region to progress a project because it really wants to wait until Denbighshire has nailed its colours to its mast around what it wants to do with Bodelwyddan, and that's still an ongoing discussion. So
Yep.
a bit longer than 3 seconds, Chair, but I hope that's kind of broadly answered it for.
Yeah. And very clearly, Graham. So I'll move on, and let's Gwyneth come in now, please.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you very much, Janet. Un o'r pethau fyswn ni'n licio gofyn ydy ynglyn ag amaethyddiaeth. Mae hwn yn sector pwysig. Ac sut bydd hwn yn cael ei effeithio os bydd y wlad yn gwneud cytundeb efo Awstralia? A'r ail beth, dyn ni isio yn bobl ifanc aros yma a cael swyddi da, ond mae gen chi prosiectau adeiladu tai, a be dwi'n clywed rwan, mae yna lot o adeiladu tai wedi bod yma yn Sir Ddinbych, yn Ninbych, ac mae yna gymaint yn mynd yn syth, yn cael ei prynu efo arian parod gan bobl o tu allan, yn enwedig o De Lloegr. Be fedrwch chi wneud i gwneud y prisiau tai yn dderbyniol i bobl ifanc? Diolch.
O ran y cwestiwn cyntaf ynglyn â cytundeb masnach efo Awstralia, dwi ddim mewn lle allai ymateb at hynny. Mae gennym ni brosiect arloesol hefo Coleg Cambria yn Llysfasi sydd yn edrych ar sut bydd arloesi yn helpu i ni weld cynnydd mewn y gallu i fod yn productive yn y maes amaeth. Felly creu rhyw fath o ffarm carbon neutral mwyn i ni roi addysg a lle i arloesi o fewn y rhanbarth, o fewn y maes addysg ag amaeth sydd wedyn yn galluogi i ni nid yn unig ddangos bod yn bosib i ni redeg ffarm sydd yn carbon neutral, ond hefyd i ni gallu darparu y modd ar gyfer arloesi a testio rhywfaint o'r technoleg yma sy'n mynd i alluogi y genhedlaeth newydd yn y byd amaeth i fod yn fwy arloesol ac yn fwy gynhyrchiol yn y maes amaeth. Felly dwi'n hyderus bod yr buddsoddiad sy'n mynd mewn i'r Coleg Amaethyddol yn Llysfasi yn mynd i wthio'r terfynau chydig bach o ran addysgu a helpu y sector mewn ffordd i weld sut allan nhw weithredu ar ffarm sydd yn gefnogol i'r targedau carbon isel, ond sydd hefyd yn cynnig dulliau gweithredol arloesol sy'n galluogi iddyn nhw greu cynnyrch gwell a cynnyrch ar gyfer y farchnad sgynnan ni. A dwi'n meddwl mewn ffordd, na allai, mae'n fater i'r Llywodraeth o ran y gytundeb masnachol hefo gwledydd eraill, ond dwi'n meddwl y mwyaf allwn ni roi canolbwyntio ar roi arloesi yng nghanol y maes amaethyddol, addysg i'r genhedlaeth nesaf i ddysgu sut all dulliau gweithredol sydd yn gefnogol o ffarmio carbon neutral, yna da ni bron iawn, da ni'n paratoi y genhedlaeth nesaf o ran bydamaeth i greu y cynnyrch a gobeithio fydd y farchnad lleol yn gefnogol o'r cynnyrch.
Most of what came in the report, actually, and I've got other speakers wanting to come in, so I'm really sorry, but I've got to keep to the timetable, and we're well over now. So, Hugh Irving.
One quick comment and two quick questions. Comment firstly with my scrutineer's hat on, because I believe that's what we're here and expected to do. Little bit of an eyebrow raising there when I looked at the administration costs for the project. So the question is, are we within the planned budget for administering this project? That's the second one. That's the first question. I'll follow on quickly with the second, which Graham has partially addressed. As I understand this on the red markers, the Bodelwyddan development, or the Bodelwyddan project that has been, to my certain knowledge, going through the council in one form or another for about 9 years now, is dead in the water because the planning permission has expired. Therefore, it requires the existing proposed developer or a new one to come forward and work up a new plan. That's all going to be a very lengthy business. So do we actually ever anticipate anything going forward on that site? So that's one comment and two questions.
Oh, thank you. Nice and sweet and good questions. Thank you.
Hez, do you want to take the budget one? I think we can be very concise with this one.
Yes, we are within the planned budget, and I think I would probably leave the Bodelwyddan question to Graham.
Yeah, Heath, happy to do that. Yeah, no, Hugh, I wouldn't say it's dead in the water, but I think you're right. It's been a long-running project for a number of years and it's not been delivered. It's for us now to decide whether or not we want to allocate it in the new LDP or not, and what scale of any allocation. So we're in control. We can, if you like, the existing allocation is, I think, dead in the water. I think that's fair enough. The 1,700 houses, 25 hectares of employment land. That outline consent has gone. Is it still a good site for development? Is there still opportunity to bring some employment and housing to that site? Can the North Wales Economic Ambition Board help to bring any allocation forward? They are questions over the coming weeks and months that we need to answer. What won't happen is we won't be forced to do anything by the Economic Ambition Board. The Economic Ambition Board are waiting for us to decide what we want to do with Bodelwyddan in terms of the new LDP and any new allocation. I hope that answers the question, Chair. Thank you.
Well, yes, and quickly following on from that, therefore, because judging by the amount of opposition there was to the earlier scheme, it will be a long process if another scheme comes forward. How long will the Ambition Board wait?
I think that's a good question, because if we remain indecisive over a long period of time, or we allocate something that isn't viable and there's no kind of interest in bringing it forward, then, and I can't speak for the Economic Ambition Board, but I think it's fair to assume they won't wait forever. There are timescales in order for this money to be spent, and they'll need to switch that potential investment into other projects, be it they in Denbighshire or be they elsewhere in the region.
And we don't have a follow-up project to go in to replace it.
Oh, we've got plenty of projects, Hugh, don't worry about that. Not necessarily at Bodelwyddan, but I'd be, as a council, I'm sure we could put any number of projects forward for consideration by the Economic Ambition Board, should Bodelwyddan fail. But I guess there's other authorities would be in a similar position, saying, well, if any of our existing projects don't come forward, they would also have a suite of potential projects. And I think the region would have to view what was ever best for the region, because it's a regional economic strategy.
I remember the debate when Denbighshire decided to sign up for this Ambition Board, and it would seem to me that Bodelwyddan is one of our principal planks. And without the Bodelwyddan project or a replacement, one wonders how viable it is for Denbighshire to be part of the Ambition Board, because they've lost so much of our, otherwise, basically, we're not going to get a lot out of it, are we? Unless we can potentially find a replacement or take a scheme forward. Those are my scrutineering comments, but I think there's a concern there, and no wonder there's a big red risk on it.
I think if I can just come back quickly, Chair, on that, I still think even without the Bodelwyddan project, and we're not saying there isn't going to be a Bodelwyddan project, we're saying there's some risks around the Bodelwyddan project that we in Denbighshire have to resolve. There might still be an allocation there. They're questions that still have to be answered. But even without a Bottlewyddon project, I'm pretty convinced there's enough in the Economic Ambition Board and the growth deal to ensure that Denbighshire will gain and will benefit from it, from the economy. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that.
Just to assure you, Hugh, we will be keeping our eye on this and they will be coming back to our scrutiny. So it was good points made and we'll keep an eye on it. Okay.
Thank you.
I've got now, Joan, did you want to come in? Joan, you're on mute.
Yeah, I've just come off mute. I feel quite disadvantaged, Chair, at this meeting. I've heard very little of what's gone on. The audio has been dreadful on my machine. I do apologise that I'm not able to contribute as fully as I would have liked to have done. I've heard one or two things. I didn't hear anything from Rhys, or I knew the questions were being given and answered, but I am sorry, I'm taking time up saying how much trouble I've had this morning in the audio thing. Sorry, in the recording, I just can't hear properly what's going on.
Don't worry, Joan, it's okay. No
but
problem.
I just, if people can hear me, Chair, I am very excited about this programme. I do realise that we are scrutinising it. I take on board what Hugh has said, because I heard what he was saying. It came back on at the very end, and I do agree with him that there is a lot of fragility in and around our major project, as it were. But I do also have an awful lot of confidence that this is going to be the way forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Joan. And last speaker now, I'm going to ask for Merrick.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Partners Gadeirydd. Mae ddrwg gan bod fi'n hwyr yn cyrraedd, ond trafferthio fel arfer. Tudalen 5 o'r adroddiad o Sky, Alwen a Hedd, yn statws y rhaglen OBC, a dwi'n methu gweld beth i ystyr y talfyriad hwnnw. Ond gai ddiolch i chi am, Alwen, y ddau yno chi am agor y wawr newydd yr ydych holl yn gyflwyno ac yn gweithio ato ac yn camol eich adroddiad. Gyda ni wedi dibynnu gymaint nawr ar hwylustod, cryfder a chyflymder y we, a Zoom bore yma ac yn y blaen, pa lywodraeth sydd yn llusgo traed gyda cyflawni 5G, 5G, dal i golli cyfranwyr ar Zoom, llais yn troi'n garbwl, a rhai diffodd y llun. Yr un fath a bore yma, traed moch a dim arall. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you, Merrick. Thanks very much. I'm now going to go to the recommendations.
Oes ateb, Cadeirydd?
Ddod i fewn i ateb y cwestiwn OBC. Outline business case mae o'n olygu. Mae o'n rhan o...
Mae'n Saesneg ar adroddiad Cymraeg.
Ie, fe rhaid ni edrych ar hwnna. Adroddiad amlinellol, mae o'n sefyll am, mae o'n rhan o'r broses. Da ni'n dilyn efo'r trysorlus i fynd ar ceisiadau busnes yn ei blaenau. Fydd ar outline business case yn mynd yn ei flaen i fod yn achos busnes terfynol, FBC, final business case.
Diolch yn fawr. Be am yr ail ran?
Dwi'n cydweld mae rhan o'r rhaglen digidol yn ymateb at yr ardaloedd anhysbell ac yr ardaloedd falle sydd ddim mor anhysbell sydd yn dioddef o gysylltedd gwael. Mae hyn yn rhan o'r buddsoddiadau da ni am wneud drwy'r cynllun twf, y final few percent.
Da chi wedi clywed bore yma ril, Dimbych a'r Rhuthun. Dwi'n gwybod dwi'n dod drosodd yn iawn, ond mae'n edrych mod i. Yn cymeriadog dwi'n yn Llanelwy.
O, cymeriadog, ie, dwi'n nabod cymeriadog. Mae Barry ar y galwad bore yma, dwi'n siŵr os di Barry eisiau dod i fewn ar hyn, ond dwi'n meddwl bod o'n bwysig bod ni yn edrych ar y materion yma, ac o bosib hefo chi fel cynghorwyr i edrych ar lle ydych chi wedi lleoli, cos fe ddeith hynny gynnig wybodaeth da i ni ar lle mae'r rhwydwaith angen sylw. A dwi'n hapus i bigo hynny fyny hefo Barry.
Diolch yn fawr.
Happy with that, Merrick? Yeah.
Diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd.
Thank you. And I've got Emrys who just wants to come in then.
Sydyn iawn. Mynd yn ôl at y lliwiau yma, dwi ar tudalen 32 yn y pecyn. Disgwylir penderfyniad ar y cais cynllunio, dwi'n sôn am safle ysbyty Gogledd Cymru dwi, ym mis Ebrill Mai 2021. Rwan te, dwi'n siŵr os fedrwn ni gadw hwnna'r wyrdd fel mae o, achos dal i ddisgwyl yda ni, felly sy'n ni'n awgrymu'n garedig mae oren dylai hwnna fod yn ytrach yna gwyrdd, achos sicr does e ddim cais wedi cyrraedd pwyllgor cynllunio hyn, a dyn ni fewn i fis Mehefin ar gyfer y cyfarfod nesaf.
Diolch yn fawr, mi wnawn ni adolygu hynny yn y cyfarfod nesaf.
Thank you, Hef.
Diolch yn fawr.
Okay, we will now go to the recommendation, which is that members consider the contents of the annual report and provide comments and feedback. And I think we've done that very well. And I thank the officers involved for answering the questions so well. I'm sorry I've had to skip in time, but I do my best to keep it all on track. So thank you very much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Can I have a show of hands now, please, for the recommendation? A proposer and seconder, Joan and Hugh Irving. And everybody agrees, thank you. Okay. Thanks very much. We'll now go immediately on to agenda item 7, which is scrutiny work programme. Ask Rhian to start us off with this, please.
Yeah. Dyma fel adroddiad rhaglen waith arferol chi. Mae'r rhaglen waith ar gyfer cyfarfodydd yn y dyfodol yn atodiad 1 sydd ar dudalen 71. Mi welwch o'r adroddiad hefyd, mi o nefwriad heddiw i gynrychiolwyr y Bwrdd Iechyd Beti Gydwalder fod yn y cyfarfod i roi diweddariad ar yr prosiectau cyfalaf sy'n cael ei gynllunio ar gyfer Sir Ddinbych, yn benodol yr ysbyty newydd yn yr Hill, a hefyd nifer o brosiectau llai ar draws y sir. Mi wnaethwyd cais i'r cadeirydd yn ddiweddar yn gofyn os fysa'r eitem yma jyst yn cael ei oedi am ychydig oherwydd oedd yr swyddogion y Bwrdd Iechyd yn disgwyl i glywed yn ôl gan Lywodraeth Cymru ynglyn â'i cynllun busnes o ran yr ysbyty newydd yn yr Hill. Fel dwi'n dall, does ddim problem, ond wrth gwrs nad oedd y Llywodraeth ddim yn ymateb i unrhyw beth tra oedd yr cyfnod cyn-etholiadol ymlaen. A wedyn rwan mae weinidog newydd mewn lle, maen nhw yn disgwyl ateb yn fuan iawn ar hwnna. So, mi welwch chi ar y rhaglen waith fod yr eitem yna, mae'n deud yn ei erbyn a date to be confirmed. Da ni jyst angen gweld gynnyn nhw pryd yn union gan o'r wybodaeth drwodd. Os fydd angen cynnal cyfarfod arbennig ar hwnna, mi fedrwn ni wneud ar yr eitem yna, neu fel arall, da ni'n hyderus o'ch fydd efo ni erbyn yr 8fed o fis Gorffennaf. Does na ddim eitemau wedi dod o'r grŵp cadeiryddion ac is-gadeiryddion ar eich cyfer chi yn ei cyfarfod dwytha. Felly ar rhaglen waith ar gyfer eich cyfarfod nesaf ar yr 8fed o Gorffennaf, mae'r adroddiad blynyddol ar ddiogelu oedolion, Yr adroddiad a fynwyd amdano ynglyn â'r Active Travel Plan Schemes o dan yr arian Covid-19 a'r gwersi addysgwydd oddi wrth hwnna. Ac hefyd, eitem arall gyda chynrychiolwyr o'r Bwrdd Iechyd a'r wasanaethau methiant y galon yn Sir Ddinbych a sut maen nhw'n effeithio ar y gwasanaethau gofal cymdeithasol. Felly mae gennych chi o leia tair wrach bedair eitem ar gyfer yr wythfed o Orffennaf, os di hynny'n iawn efo chi. Mi soniodd y cynghorydd Rhys Thomas yn gynt am yr cyfarfodydd briffio yma fyddwn ni arfer i cael o flaen yr cyfarfod, yr Pwyllgor. A mi nes i addo yn y cyfarfod dwytha bys ni'n codi'r mater efo'r grŵp cadeiryddion. Oherwydd y broblem sgynnon ni ydy, oherwydd bod y cyfarfodydd ma'n rhithiol, mae o'n creu mwy o waith a chydig bach mwy o broblem o ran cynnal yr cyfarfodydd hyn. Mi gafwyd trafodaeth reit da arno fo yn y grŵp cadeiryddion a be benderfynwyd oedd, mi ma'n bosib i ni i gynnal y cyfarfodydd yma, ond oherwydd bod rhaid i staff fod yn y siambr yma'n Rhuthun yn gosod y peth yn barod ar gyfer y cyfarfod ffurfiol. Fysa rhaid i cadeirydd a finne fod mewn stafell arall yn neuadd y sir a cysylltu efo pawb arall ar gysylltiad gwahanol i'r prif gyfarfod. Oherwydd hynny, mi fysa fo yn rhoi amser eitha tyn i ni o ran cynnal y cyfarfodydd. Fysa rhaid ni gochwyn tua 9:00 a wedyn gorffen am 8:30 i roi digon o amser i ni allu dod i'r siambr ac i pawb allu cysylltu fewn i'r prif gyfarfod. Wrach am be fysa ni'n neud fysa cynnal yr cyfarfod briffio dros Teams a Zoom yn cael ei ddefnyddio ar gyfer y prif gyfarfod. Okay. Mi benderfynwyd hefyd, teimlodd y cadeiryddion wrach nad oes angen cyfarfod briffio o flaen pob cyfarfod craffu, ond fysa nhw fel cadeirydd ag is-gadeirydd yn penderfynu pryd fysa un yn fuddiol. Ac os oes gennych chi fel aelodau, da chi'n teimlo bod fysa cyfarfod felly yn fuddiol, so chi'n rhoi cais mewn da bryd i'r cadeirydd neu'r is-gadeirydd mwyn i hyn gael ei drefnu. So dwi'n gwybod os gennych chi unrhyw sylwadau ar hynny.
Okay, I've got some speakers. Hugh?
Thank you. No, Mike, I won't comment on that. I'll leave that to others. My comment was on this July the 8th hopeful meeting with Betsy Cadwallader. I think anybody in the north of the county will have concerns over the long time it's taken to replace the Alexandra and Chatsworth House community hospitals. It's a real concern. And we have real fears about slippage on the project work, what the future is. So I hope the board will be able to come to us on that date, and I hope we can have a robust scrutiny on their update report, though I do appreciate they're probably being held back by powers outside of their own control. But I just wanted to make that point. If we're able to feed it back to Betsy Carlos, we really do wish to see them as urgently as possible with these proposals. I'm sure the real members will come along with me on that one.
Yeah. Hugh, I have discussed with Rian that this possibly is one of those meetings that we do need a pre-meeting.
Yeah, I would think
It possibly could be a one item. It may mean we're waiting for them to come back to us. It may be an additional partnership scrutiny meeting on this particular topic, because there is, and I know you'll have so many questions to ask. So Rian, am I right in that we could do that?
Yes, we can do that. I'm just waiting for them just to come back to me with an indication of exactly when they'll hear.
Like we said, we don't know exactly when they're coming back, but but Rian and I have discussed it. I would have a pre-meeting to that meeting, and I would like it to be a stand-alone item. I think that is the best way forward. That's what I've requested. And Rian is, as she says, she's in agreement with me on that. So we shouldn't have a problem. Okay, so I'll bring Rhys in now.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to ask whether an option for members of this group then would be to meet informally amongst ourselves. We can arrange a Zoom meeting the night before. I agree it would be more like a chat around the coffee machine than a formal 1 hour meeting before that. But there's, I guess, nothing to stop us just arranging to meet and to discuss the coming agenda, should we want to. It's just a suggestion, whichever way. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Rhys. And I think what we need to do is look at the issues that are coming before us. And trust me, I will make a decision whether or not we need a pre-meeting. But I will only do that when I feel it's necessary, or one of our members of the scrutiny feel they really want me to do that. And I'm open to that suggestion, but we'll have to see as we go along. And to be honest with you, I hope it won't be long before we are actually able to meet together and have the chat. Although they don't provide coffee here anymore now. So I suggest we all bring a hip flask. Yeah?
As long as you bring biscuits, Chair, we'll be happy.
Oh, yes. I'm afraid I've eaten all the mince pies and all the biscuits now going, which you can see I'm growing now, width-wise. I'll bring Joan in now.
Thank you, Chair. I really don't disagree with Rhys's idea of having a group pre-thing, sort of a hybrid briefing before. I do appreciate what you've said, Chair, and I do know that you will, wherever possible, bring the pre-meetings in as and when necessary. But I do think sometimes, as of the meeting today, which was particularly difficult for me, I've got to say, I'm not sure why, but I do believe that if it is a very contentious issue, and I think the hospital one is, and I know we're going to have a pre-meeting on that, but the hospital one in Frill has been rolling on for years and years and years and years, and just need to move to it. But I do think that there are issues like the one today, which was very technical, very new, very different to how we've been working in the past. I think it might be good for us all to touch base, perhaps the day before or whenever on a Zoom meeting, to discuss it between ourselves as a scrutiny committee. I don't see that there's any problem with that, and I think that might be very, very useful. But those are my thoughts on it. But I do appreciate, Chair, that you will bring the pre-meetings in as and when we do need them. But as I've said, the hospital one is pretty contentious and does need resolving as quickly as possible, and let's get the scrutiny done on it again. Although it has been to us before many times, and we have scrutinised it before, but the resolve has never been productive. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Joan. And as I say, you're all welcome as members to notify me and say, I particularly would like a pre-meeting on this. And possibly it may have to be of an evening. You know, we're all busy, and it could well be fitting in for everybody to join that meeting may be difficult, but we will try, and we will try to accommodate everybody. But I'll be keeping my eye on it, rest assured, Joan.
I know.
Merrick.
Diolch eto, Parchus Gadeirydd. Ga I droi at tudalen 76, sef Gorffennaf yr Wythfed, rhif 3, da chi wedi tynnu sylw ato fo. Jyst i adael chi wybod, o'n i'n gwrando ar newyddion bore, a dwi'n meddwl bod negwyn o Sir Gwynedd ynglyn â'r gwasanaeth methiant y galon. Yn siŵr ywch chi gadw llygad am hwnnw. Diolch yn fawr.
With my record, Merrick, of keeping time. I think
Yeah.
now I will do that. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Rhian. We've got a report back from Christine that Rhian's going to read to us now.
Yeah, this is on the feedback from committee representatives. Unfortunately, Councillor Christine Marston couldn't be with us today, but she has attended 2 different meetings in a role as a representative from this committee. The first one was on the 22nd of March. She attended the stakeholders reference group for BWRDD University Health Board, and I'll read her report here. The 3-year plan has been delayed for the Health Board due to COVID. Therefore, they're working on a year ahead plan. When recovery phase commences, they will address the backlog. And with regards to planned care, BCU are hoping to create capacity. On the COVID vaccine, they're looking to achieve 6 to 8 week window for the second dose, with a plan not to need the vaccine centres after July. The digital strategy engagement has started, but it has constraints due to COVID, and the aim is to implement a single digital patient record. And they discussed the introduction of targeted intervention improvement framework, looking to improve how the Health Board runs and operates with the aim of improving performance. The second meeting she attended was to do with the Children's Residential Unit Project Board. That was held on the 18th of May. They've now decided that the name of the new unit is Bwllynyddool, and it's situated between the police headquarters and Areas Park in Colwyn Bay. The tripartite collaboration between Denbighshire, Conwy and the Health Board, and the project spend is around £2.6 million. On-site construction starts in June with a completion date of May 2022. This centre will accommodate Conwy and Denbighshire children for intensive therapeutic treatment, with 3 areas within the facility: planned inpatient care, unplanned inpatient care and assessment area. Multidisciplinary members are already in place, so interim plans are now being drawn up to accommodate children in need of care now, with temporary accommodation in Colwyn Bay. Work is also being done on the ongoing running costs of the units for the future.
Oh, thank you. Can I just ask, will Christine be able to, you know, she's vice chair, will she be able to continue on our scrutiny? Yeah, and on that group. Oh, that's good news, isn't it?
Well, yeah, she's our rep on that group, so
Yeah,
while
that's
she's
right,
on
yeah.
a member of this committee, she can continue on that one as well.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for that. And thanks for Christine for sending it in to us. There being no other business, I say thank you very much. Enjoy a cup of tea, and I'll see you next time. Thanks very much for coming.
Diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd.
Diolch yn fawr.